The dude, I'll just call him Red. And he's vice lord, but I was a tutor. That's where I got fucking hooked up the MS-13s at. But really, because I tutored a dude named, I call him Carlos and Chico and Juan. And but anyways, and then the bond became tighter, and I became real good friends with Carlos, top guy, and he's a shot caller. And that was my best friend. But anyway, Red, I used to live at this place in this duplex my stepdad owned in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And before I lived there, this old dude, I'll just call him Willie, but he was a bootlegger. And old man, he was like probably in the 60s. I don't know. I used to go there when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old. We replaced things, me and my stepdad. My stepdad inherited these properties from my step-grandparents. And old Willie, he'd been shot and killed in that duplex that I rented later when I got out of prison from IYC. But my stepdad owned it. And Willie, he was shot through the window, but he had a little .22 pistol, and he always had like women over, old black women, white women. He ran a poker ring too, and it was down on Pontiac and Harrison Street. It was kind of in the hood, but and when I moved in there was still chalk line like in the kitchen floor where he fell. You know, and the pistol was, and he had two refrigerators. One was like this old refrigerator, and you could pull it out and turn it like a real heavy metal tray, like you kick it, you know, it didn't go nowhere. Like it had like a thing in the center of the refrigerator, like a stabilizing pole, like a pillar. But anyways, and there was old liquor bottles and labels, you know what I mean? But most stuff was picked up. But yeah, I never knew why until the first weekend I lived there, and like I'm getting sidetracked here, but and some Latinos come over, Mexicans and some Guatemalans, and they was wanting to buy beer and stuff, wanting their Michelob, wanting their Corona, and didn't speak that, you know, I know a little bit of Spanish, but I figured it all out even before I knew what a bootlegger was, because the refrigerator was right here, the other refrigerator. You know, and then I ended up asking my stepdad, and they were wanting to get alcohol. It was a Sunday. And, but anyways, needless to say, back to when I was tutoring, I was at CIC. I got talking to Red, and I told him where I lived, and he was from Fort Wayne, big dude, and young though, like 21, 22 years old. And he's like, oh yeah. And this dude told me, like, he had killed his brother, or he had killed Willie. And, well, I said, dude, I used to live there. You know, I knew Willie when I was a kid. Always wore like loafers. And I said, you know, he was a bootlegger. And he's like, yeah, we used to go there too sometimes to get liquor or whatever before we was old enough to buy it. And well, I mean, when I was in jail before I went to prison, that's actually when I first found out about Willie Muff, because I was listening to, I had radios, and it were Crime Stoppers in Fort Wayne. But you know, it's unsolved to this day. But this Red, he told me who killed Willie, and he said, yeah, I know the dude. And it's known, like, so it doesn't matter. I'll put it out there. I really don't care. But it was Willie's brother, and he's probably deceased now. But, you know, they never knew who killed him. And, like, I was like, this dude knows. And he's telling me right now. You know, and I wasn't. It just rolled off my shoulders, you know. But, yeah, it was crazy, you know. Here this dude's telling me, and I knew this dude. And he told me, like, yeah, I knew the dude's brother. And he shot him through the kitchen window. And I'm like, that's right. The window had bullet holes. I lived there. We had to replace the window, and I knew he knew details. You know what I mean? That I didn't know, and that was pretty wild. But I'll get you to the next episode and tell you about a dude trying to rob me, and I was in Michigan City.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it didn't go his way that day, and
well, let me